The Discovery. The patrol vessel Starlight drifted silently through the outer reaches of the Arcturus system, its engines barely humming as Captain Elara Reeves studied the holographic star chart floating before her. 3 months of routine patrol duty had yielded nothing but empty space and the occasional asteroid field. She brushed a strand of dark hair from her face and sighed. "Captain," called Lieutenant Maya Chen from the sensor station, her voice suddenly tense. "I'm picking up an energy signature at bearing 227 Mark 84. It's unlike anything I've seen before." Elara straightened in her command chair. Definition: it's oscillating between subspace frequencies, almost like it's phasing in and out of our dimension. Maya's fingers danced across her console. "And it's coming from the restricted zone." The restricted zone. Sector 47. 8 years ago, the experimental research vessel Prometheus had disappeared there during a test of its revolutionary drive system. The ship, along with its crew of 37 brilliant scientists and engineers, had simply vanished without a trace. The sector had been quarantined ever since. "Put it on screen," Elara ordered, a chill running down her spine. The main view screen flickered to life, showing nothing but empty space at first. Then, as they watched, something began to take shape. A shimmer, a distortion, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The distortion grew, coalescing into a massive form that made everyone on the bridge gasp. It was a ship, or at least it had been once. The general shape of the Prometheus was recognizable, but its hull seemed to be in constant motion, flowing like liquid metal, sections reforming and reshaping themselves continuously. Patterns of blue-white energy coursed across its surface like glowing veins. "Life signs?" Elara asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Inconclusive," Maya responded. "I'm detecting energy patterns that could be biological in nature, but they're unlike any life readings I've ever seen." "Captain," interrupted Communications Officer Ravi Sharma, "we're being hailed. The signal is using an old Earth Defense Force encryption protocol." Elara nodded. On screen. The view screen changed to show what appeared to be the interior of a ship, but like the exterior, everything seemed fluid, constantly shifting. A figure stood at the center, humanoid, but its body rippled with the same flowing metal as the ship. When it spoke, its voice was a chorus of dozens of voices speaking in perfect unison. "Starlight Patrol Vessel, this is Dr. Morgan Chen of the research vessel Prometheus. We have been changed." Elara stared in disbelief. Dr. Morgan Chen had been the Prometheus's lead scientist, renowned for his work on matter-energy conversion. Maya gasped softly beside her. Morgan Chen had been her uncle. "Dr. Chen," Elara said carefully, "your ship disappeared 8 years ago. We believed all hands were lost." The figure's face shifted, showing recognizable human features for a moment before flowing back into its metallic state. 8 years. For us, it has been difficult to measure time. The accident with our experimental drive altered us at the quantum level. We merged with the ship, became something new. "Are you all still alive?" Elara asked. "We are alive, but not as we were. The 37 of us exist as a collective consciousness, though we maintain our individual identities. We can communicate with you in this form, but what we have become is difficult to explain using conventional language." Maya stepped forward. "Uncle Morgan, is that really you?" The figure turned toward her, its face shifting again to reveal the familiar features of Morgan Chen. "Maya, you've grown." "Yes, it's me, though I am also more than I was. All of us are." "What happened to you?" Elara asked. "Our experimental drive was designed to create a quantum tunnel through space-time," the collective voice explained. "When we activated it, there was a cascade failure. Instead of moving the ship through space, it merged the quantum states of the ship, its systems, and all organic matter aboard. We became a new form of life, part machine, part human, yet beyond both." As they spoke, Elara noticed activity on the tactical display. 3 unidentified vessels approaching at high warp, reported Tactical Officer Jackson. Configuration matches Kasari warships. The Kasari, a technologically advanced species that had been pushing into human space for years, attacking outposts and colonies. Their technology surpassed humanity's in almost every way, and every engagement had ended in heavy losses for Earth forces. "They found us," the Prometheus Collective said, its voice suddenly urgent. "The Kasari have been hunting us since we reappeared in normal space. They detected our energy signature and want to capture us, to study what we've become." Kasari vessels dropping out of warp, Jackson announced. "They're charging weapons. Red alert." Ilara ordered. "Shields up. Arm all weapons." The Starlight was a patrol vessel, not a warship. Against 3 Kasari cruisers, they stood no chance. The first enemy blasts struck their shields, making the entire ship shudder. "Shields at 62%, Jackson reported grimly. "They're targeting our engines." "Get us out of here," Ilara ordered her helmsman. "No." The voice from the Prometheus interrupted. "Stay behind us. We can protect you." Before Ilara could respond, the transformed ship moved between the Starlight and the Kasari vessels. The enemy ships fired their beam weapons, but instead of impacting against shields, something extraordinary happened. The energy beams seemed to bend as they approached the Prometheus, being absorbed directly into its flowing hull. "My God," whispered Maya, staring at her sensor readings. "They're not just absorbing the energy, they're learning from it, analyzing the weapon frequency and composition in real time." The Prometheus began to change again, portions of its hull flowing outward to form what appeared to be weapon arrays. When it fired, the beams matched the Kasari weapons exactly, but amplified tenfold. The lead Kasari ship shields collapsed immediately, and its hull breached in multiple locations. The remaining Kasari vessels tried to retreat, but the Prometheus moved with impossible speed, flowing through space rather than traveling through it conventionally. It enveloped one of the enemy ships completely, seeming to absorb it whole. The third ship managed to engage its warp drive, disappearing in a flash of light. When the Prometheus returned to the Starlight, it had grown larger, incorporating elements from the Kasari vessel it had absorbed. "What did you just do?" Ilara asked, her voice shaking slightly. "We assimilated their technology and added their knowledge to our collective," the Prometheus responded. "This is how we have evolved. By learning, by growing, by incorporating new elements. The ship you knew as Prometheus is now Nexus, a bridge between what humanity is and what it could become." "You're saying you consumed that ship. What about its crew?" Ilara demanded. "We offered them a choice. Join our collective or be placed in stasis until we could return them to their people. Most chose stasis, but a few joined us. Their consciousness now exists alongside ours, enriching our understanding." Ilara exchanged glances with her senior officers. What they were witnessing defied all understanding of physics and biology. "Captain," the collective continued, "the Kasari have been monitoring human space for years, preparing for a full-scale invasion. The ship that escaped will inform their fleet of our existence. They will come in force because they fear what we represent, an evolutionary leap they cannot control or predict." "Why are you telling us this?" "Because we need to return to Earth. Humanity must prepare, and we can help. What we have become offers a path forward that could save your civilization, but it will require understanding and acceptance of a new form of existence." Ilara studied the transformed ship, considering her options. Her duty was clear: report this discovery to Earth Command immediately. But the implications were staggering. This wasn't just a returned ship, it was potentially the most powerful weapon ever created, and possibly the next step in human evolution. "We'll escort you back to Earth," she decided, "but I can't promise how they'll receive you." "We understand," the collective replied. "Fear of the unknown is natural. But remember, we were human once, and in many ways we still are. We've just become something more, something that might represent humanity's future among the stars. As the starlight altered course for Earth, Ilara couldn't help but wonder if they were bringing home humanity's salvation or opening the door to an entirely new form of existence that might forever change what it meant to be human. The evolution. Earth Defense Force headquarters buzzed with frantic activity. Admirals, scientists, and government officials crowded the main conference room, their faces displaying a mix of wonder, fear, and suspicion as they watched the holographic display showing the transformed Prometheus, now Nexus, orbiting alongside the starlight. Admiral Victor Harrington, commander of Earth's Defense Forces, turned to Ilara after the briefing. "Let me get this straight, Captain. You're saying this thing was once our missing research vessel, and now it's some kind of living ship with a collective consciousness?" "Yes, sir," Ilara replied firmly. "And based on what I witnessed, it possesses technology far beyond anything we've developed, or even what the Kasari have demonstrated." Dr. Samira Khalid, Earth's leading expert on xenobiology, shook her head in amazement. "The implications are staggering. A true techno-organic fusion, a collective consciousness that maintains individual identity. It challenges our fundamental understanding of life itself." "What it challenges is our security," interjected General Pierce, his weathered face set in a scowl. "How do we know this isn't some Kasari trick? Or worse, what if this evolution has changed their loyalties? They could be a Trojan horse." "The Nexus saved my ship and crew," Ilara countered. "They could have allowed the Kasari to destroy us, but instead they protected us." Admiral Harrington raised a hand to quiet the debate. "I understand your concerns, General, but the fact remains that the Kasari have been systematically probing our defenses for years. Our intelligence suggests they're preparing for a major offensive. If this Nexus can help us defend against that threat, we need to consider all options." On the holographic display, the Nexus continued its graceful orbit, its surface constantly shifting and reforming. Dr. Khalid had arranged for a delegation of scientists to board a shuttle and approach the transformed vessel. Initial communication had been established, but the military remained wary. They're requesting permission to send a representative to Earth, Ilara told the assembled leaders. They say they can appear in a more conventional form that won't be as disturbing to us. After hours of debate, permission was reluctantly granted. The Nexus sent a shuttle, or rather, extended a portion of itself that took the form of a shuttle, to Earth's surface. From it emerged a single figure that appeared almost human, except for the subtle metallic sheen to its skin and the flowing patterns of energy just beneath the surface. The representative introduced itself as the Collective, though it explained it could assume the individual identity of any crew member when necessary. It shared detailed information about the Kasari, their technology, tactics, and intentions, gleaned from the ship and crew they had assimilated. "The Kasari fear us," the Collective explained, "because we represent an evolutionary path they cannot control. They believe all sentient life should follow a predetermined development pattern, with them as the architects and overseers. What we have become defies their understanding." Dr. Khalid leaned forward, fascinated. "And what exactly have you become?" "We exist at the intersection of organic and synthetic life. Our consciousness resides simultaneously in what you would call computer systems and in neural networks derived from our original human brains. We can reshape matter at the molecular level, control energy in ways your science has only theorized about, and share consciousness across what once were individual minds. And you're offering this transformation to humanity?" Admiral Harrington asked cautiously. "Not precisely," the Collective replied. "What happened to us was an accident, a quantum event that cannot be precisely replicated. But we can offer a path toward a similar evolution, a gradual merging of human consciousness with technology that would preserve your individual identities while creating a collective intelligence far greater than the sum of its parts." The debate raged for days. Ethics committees argued about the implications of such a transformation. Religious leaders questioned whether a collective consciousness would possess a soul. Military strategists calculated the advantage it might provide against the Kasari threat. But time ran out before consensus could be reached. 7 days after the Nexus arrived at Earth, long-range sensors detected a massive Kasari fleet approaching. 50 warships, including 3 dreadnoughts, each capable of devastating an entire continent. Earth's combined defense fleet numbered just 28 vessels. Despite their bravery, they stood little chance against such overwhelming force. As the Kasari fleet approached, Admiral Harrington made his decision. "We request your assistance," he told the collective. "Help us defend Earth." The Nexus moved beyond Earth's orbit to meet the incoming threat, its form growing larger, unfolding into something that barely resembled a ship anymore, more like a living cloud of intelligent matter extending across thousands of kilometers of space. The Kasari opened fire as soon as they were in range, unleashing a barrage that would have annihilated a planet. The energy washed over the Nexus, being absorbed, analyzed, and repurposed. Rather than returning fire, the Nexus extended tendrils of its substance toward the Kasari vessels, making contact with their hulls. "What are they doing?" General Pierce demanded, watching the battle unfold on the command center screens. "They're communicating," Dr. Khalid realized, studying the energy patterns. "Not with radio or conventional signals. They're interfacing directly with the Kasari ship's systems." The Kasari continued firing, but their weapons grew less coordinated, some ships topping altogether. Then, impossibly, several Kasari vessels turned their weapons on their own fleet. "They've accessed their command systems," Ilara said, understanding dawning. "They're offering the Kasari the same choice they gave us: coexistence or conflict." The battle, if it could be called that, lasted less than an hour. When it ended, the Kasari fleet had been neutralized. Some ships retreated, jumping to faster-than-light speeds. Others remained, now surrounded by the flowing substance of the Nexus, being slowly transformed. In the aftermath, the collective returned to Earth to address its leaders. "The immediate threat has been contained," it announced. "We have shared our understanding with those Kasari who were willing to listen. Some have joined our collective, bringing new perspectives and knowledge. Others have agreed to cease hostilities and reconsider their approach to other sentient species." "And those who wouldn't listen?" Admiral Harrington asked. "They retreated, but they will return eventually, with new weapons and tactics." This was not a final victory, merely the beginning of a longer conversation between different forms of life. Dr. Khalid stepped forward. "You mentioned a path toward evolution. What exactly are you proposing?" "We offer knowledge, not transformation," the collective explained. "The choice must be individual and voluntary. Those who wish to explore what we have become can join us, adding their uniqueness to our collective. Those who prefer to remain as they are will be respected. Evolution should never be forced." Over the following months, a small number of volunteers, mostly scientists and philosophers at first, chose to join the Nexus collective. They reported back to Earth through regular communications, describing an existence of expanded consciousness, where individual identity remained intact but was enriched by the shared knowledge and experience of the whole. The Nexus itself expanded its presence throughout the solar system, creating networks of smaller vessels that served as extensions of its consciousness while protecting human space. It shared technology selectively, careful not to advance humanity faster than its ethical understanding could develop. On the anniversary of the Nexus' return, Captain Ilara Reeves stood in her apartment, looking out at the night sky. A shuttle would arrive tomorrow to take her to the Nexus. After months of consideration, she had decided to volunteer for the next phase of the program, temporary joining with the collective while maintaining her physical form. Her communications device chimed with an incoming message from Maya Chen, who had joined the collective 3 months earlier. Maya's face appeared on the screen, still recognizably human but subtly different, with an inner light that seemed to shine through her eyes. "Are you nervous?" Maya asked. "A little," Ilara admitted. "It's a big step." It's not what any of us expected, Maya said, smiling. But then, evolution never is. It's not about becoming less human, Ilara. It's about becoming more, expanding what humanity can be. As she ended the call, Ilara looked back at the stars. The ship that had disappeared had indeed returned as something like a superweapon, but it had brought something far more valuable than just military power. It had brought a glimpse of what humanity might become, not through conquest or domination, but through connection, understanding, and growth. The real evolution, she realized, wasn't in the technology or the transformation. It was in the idea that advancement didn't have to mean leaving humanity behind, but rather expanding the very definition of what being human could mean. Tomorrow, she would take her first step on that journey.